Hi there, my name is Mike and I am one of the in-house education consultants here at the Profs. And in this video, as part of a series of videos to help you guys get ready for those pesky Oxbridge interviews, I'm going to be talking today about Cambridge's physics interview, which is something that you have to take in order to study physics or even anything, well, physics within the natural sciences at the University of Cambridge. But if you specify physics as being something you want to specialize in, you are going to be expecting to just be tested on physics and mathematics in these interviews. If you like what you hear and what you see in this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section if you do have any further questions that you would love answered. Or if you just want to show your appreciation, that would be fantastic. But let's actually just start right off with tip number one. And my very first top tip for preparation for this type of interview is actually just understand the possible interview structures that you can have. Usually we'll have two people sitting across from you, and they might ask you a little bit about your application, and you might have an interview that is more specific to do with mathematics and another one to do with physics. Similar to how you might have interviews for computer science, which if you are interested in watching that video for the University of Cambridge, click this link here. So it's really, really important to understand the structure of the interview because that does actually help to calm the nerves a little bit. We tend to be a little bit more confident if we know a little bit more as to what to expect. And there are things that are definitely not in control, such as what we can be asked in the interview, but things that are in control are in sort of our understanding of the interview structure itself. So I would be preparing myself for one mathematics interview and one physics-based interview. Now, I would also be, in that regard, sort of thinking on the physics front, could I be asked about and what could I be asked about on the maths front? They shouldn't, in theory, be asking you anything beyond what you should already know just from your school studies, but they will be asking you questions that sort of extend your understanding or your application beyond what is usually expected from you. My second top tip is make sure that you understand what interviewers look for in their applicants. And given that at Cambridge, a degree in physics is incredibly quantitative and mathematical, they're going to be looking at your problem-solving abilities in particular. In that case, they're also looking at your ability to think out loud with questions. So what you definitely don't want to do is just maybe look at a page or your workings for 2 or 3 minutes and not say a single word. They want to be able to hear about your ideas in terms of how to solve a particular problem. They're not going to be easy questions. They know that. They will want to try to help you wherever possible by giving you hints as to where to go, to simulate what an actual supervision at Cambridge will be like. So it's really, really important that you're comfortable with communicating your ideas, even if you think, well, I haven't got a right answer yet. Even if you're not completely 100% correct or you're not fully fledged with your thoughts, it's still really, really important that you know exactly where you could possibly see yourself going with the exploration of a particular solution. They're going to be looking at your ability to spot particular patterns in things. On the physics aspect of things, they also might ask you a question or two about experimental design. But a really, really famous sort of type of question that does come up, say the FERMI questions. So I've talked about FERMI problems in a few other videos before, particularly surrounding physics, but they're usually structured as saying, what would happen if I did this? Or what would happen if this happened? And they tend to be very sort of hypothetical scenarios that are very difficult to sort of replicate in practice or impossible. And if so, you want to be using what you understand of physics to be able to sort of break that down. Just to give an example, I think my most favorite one is what would happen physically if I flicked a feather at 1 million meters per second. Now, obviously, I can't physically do that with my fingers. I think my bones would break, but assuming they didn't, what would the impact of the physics like the impacting physics be with not only the feather, but the environment surrounding it. So that's just one example, but you want to be looking at, getting invested in quite a bit of literature, like possibly just to explore more types of FERMI problems. And you don't necessarily have to go to an academic library in order to discover this. You can easily go to a shop like Waterstones and have a look at lots of like books, usually books that basically say, have like maybe on the title, what if, a what if type of question. And that is generally a good bit of material to be able to engage with. Now, other than your ability to be able to answer maths and physics questions, you also need to be prepared to expand on what you've written in your personal statement or included in other areas of your UCAS application, including, and I haven't mentioned this with the other Cambridge applications, but this is also important to know, including what you've said in the My Cambridge application, which is an extra little bit of your application that hopefully you would have completed by this point, saying specifically why you want to study at Cambridge in particular. If you have done that, obviously your personal statement, your application is done well enough to be considered. So they will possibly ask you questions to expand on a few of the points that you've already made in that personal statement, and you have to be prepared to give an answer for it. If you are not, be honest with what you do and don't know by that stage. But if you've got a few months to say, actually, I may have mentioned in a personal statement that I've read a chapter from a book, but now I got a few months to read a few other chapters from it, that might be a good idea to do so. If it is last minute, though, it's better to be honest with yourself and with the tutor in saying what you do and you don't know. And then that way you can actually get into sort of, I guess, better territory to be able to discuss things in further detail. Other resources to look at maths and physics questions, past PAT and STEP papers, on the STEP papers in particular on the math side of things, MAT past papers, even engineering papers like the old ENGAA is really, really good for maths and physics in particular. Again, just to be able to get that additional practice of answering challenging questions. But to further that idea, you want to make sure that when you are answering questions, you record yourself on camera and you're speaking through your answers as regularly as possible. If you're not doing that and you're not communicating your thoughts, then you need to make an active and conscientious effort in order to communicate those thoughts more and be able to talk through your answers. So it's really important we have that communication within an interview. Moving on to tip number 4. Other resources that are going to be really, really useful for your preparation are past competitions or like competition papers and websites. So the British Physics Olympiad, round 1 tends to be very, very good. Websites like Eyes of Physics and Enrich offer a lot of challenging problems from time to time that are good to go to. There's even some computational physics challenges that you can either look back on with previous entries, or you can still, take part in. In fact, it'd be pretty cool to be able to say in an interview that you're preparing for another physics competition or maths competition to take in term 2 at some point, perhaps. Just again, showing that you are still active in your subject and you haven't done the work only to submit a really good personal statement and a really good score in an admissions test, which is a little bit short-sighted. If we can make sure that we're still passionate about our subject and we're still, making efforts to engage with it, then that is the kind of student I would want to see studying at a university like Cambridge. Now, that's not necessarily all of the tips in this video, because I only have so much time, I'm afraid, to be able to give my thoughts and suggestions. But one final tip that I will give that will help to circumvent that issue is by hiring an admissions tutor like myself in order to help maximize your chances of acing that interview. It's so important, I think, if I had to pick any aspect of the application to be able to choose the interview to have an admissions tutor sort of help you in this process, because that is where they make their final decision to give you an offer to study at that university. That is the biggest sort of stepping stone in making sure that you end up getting to that university. You've done a lot of the hard work, and given that you don't want to fail at one of these final hurdles, best to have somebody like myself to help organize your preparation over the next few months. But then also, I myself, as well as many, many other people on the team, are experts in their subjects. I've been studying mathematics and physics for like pretty much a decade at university level. I know the insides and outs of what is expected really of an undergraduate student that can help to translate into an interview setting in terms of sort of communicating your maturity surrounding the subject, which is something I've not really talked about so much, but that's better demonstrated rather than discussed. On top of that, the fact that I've even just studied at Cambridge as well shows already, I understand the supervision system there. And we have a lot of people here that have also done PhDs. Some of us are even doctors and, well, not necessarily doctors, postdocs rather. And also like people here that are also lecturers at a lot of prestigious universities, like the University of Cambridge. So we have such a massive wealth of experience here. And I think it would be in your best interest if perhaps you reach out to one of us just to see what we can do for you. So I'm sad to say we've come to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe in order to hear the latest information about university applications as well as tutoring services. If you have any questions yourself or any opinions about how some of these things are working, make sure to leave a comment in the comment section, or even share it with a friend or family member if you think they might be interested. But if you want to hear directly from us, have a look at the contact information on screen right now. And as always, best of luck with your application.